Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 21 career mode, and today we are here to end off the calendar year of our Moto3 season and get our Moto2 season started. But of course the first thing we need to do is actually get a contract for Moto2. All the teams are interested, so we've got our free choice, but we actually haven't applied for any of them yet, so as of now we actually wouldn't have any employment going into the next season. And to be honest, I'm not too sure what happens if you do that. I've never actually tried that, so that could be something we could try as a game experiment one time, see what happens when you go into a season without actually signing a contract. But anyway, then we'll head to the personal manager screen here, so we'll search for contracts for factory teams. Now, at the end of the last episode, weirdly enough, there were actually quite a few MotoGP teams that were interested, and they were interested with a high proposal chance. So that was quite weird, to be honest. So we could have jumped straight to MotoGP, but I don't want to do that. I do want to go through Moto2 first. So in terms of actually signing for teams, I'll send out a few different offers so that we can have a look at the best. So Mark VDS, I'm most certainly interested in them. Red Bull KTM IO as well. Have a look at the Skyview 46 team, that's a bit further down, we'll go with them. And then probably Italtrans, that should take us up to 5 negotiations, I think, because we still have the negotiation with Avintia in Moto3 going on, but that's just because I haven't rejected them yet. So we'll have to advance forward a couple of weeks, see if they get back to us. So 1 week later, then we have got 4 notifications here on the personal manager, and we've got 4 proposals. So we've got plenty of choice here. So obviously, Real Avintia Moto3, I will quickly refuse that because I'm not really interested in signing with them. So now we get our choice of Moto2 team. So we've managed to get all of the top 4 teams basically in Moto2 to be interested in us after a really good Moto3 season. So I'm going to just try and pick the best one, to be honest, for the bonuses and the annual salary overall. So if we have a quick look through them, so 500,000 from Mark VDS, 510,000 from Red Bull KTM IO, 525,000 from Skyview 46, and 515 from Italtrans. So Skyview 46 have the highest pay, but we need to look at the bonuses, of course. Yeah, so the bonuses are much higher for Mark VDS and for Red Bull KTM IO. And the Championship Gold bonus is actually super, super high if you have a look at Red Bull KTM IO. But then the signing on bonus is smaller than Mark VDS. So look at the signing on bonus for Skyview 46, 315,000 credits for the signing on bonus, 142,000 for Italtrans. So I think Italtrans is probably out of the running here because they don't seem to give us the same. Because the objectives are all the same for these bikes and the team performance is all the same. They need a podium, a first, and a first row. That's their objectives. So obviously we're just going to go for the one that gives us the most money for doing that. So I was actually going to go through and calculate all the different signing on bonuses, the Championship Gold bonus, but the annual salary just is if you have a perfect season and hit all the objectives, that's how much money you'll get. Because it was 510,004 credits when you add all those up together for this. So Red Bull KTM IO give us the biggest pay, of course, in terms of overall season if we have a perfect season. However, Mark VDS might be the potentially better choice. Although actually, yes, Skyview 46, they have the highest overall, and their signing on bonus is amazing. Their gold bonus isn't as good, but you get more of your money from the signing on. And the Championship Gold bonus as well is quite high. So I'm kind of leaning towards Skyview 46 here, to be honest, but realistically, it doesn't make much sense to ride for them as a non-Italian rider. I know that's going outside of what the game actually wants you to do. The game doesn't care what team you ride for, but in terms of the context of the team, it doesn't make much sense. So I think we should probably disregard Skyview 46, and it's between Red Bull KTM IO and Mark VDS. And to be honest, I think I'm going to go with Red Bull KTM IO because it's just the pay is better overall. So we're going to go with Red Bull KTM IO here. So that is our Moto2 contract signed. So the next thing to do literally is to advance right to the end of the year just to see if we get any new staff trying to turn up. Yes, we've got a new technical staff, a new engineer, so an A-grade engineer, and look at that on the engine. Wow, that is a big improvement. It's a lot of money, 93,000, considering we only have 174,000 to begin with, but that is a lot. It's still one more on the frame as well, whereas Alessio Russo doesn't give us any more on the frame, although this guy does. He gives us quite a bit on the frame, but I think Ike Carrizo is probably going to be the better one because he gives us so much on the engine there. He gives us something on the aero as well, something on the electronics. Of course, those don't particularly matter for Moto2, but if we're taking this chief engineer forward into MotoGP, that's obviously something you've got to think about. So I'll literally advance forward to like the final week of the year just to give any potential candidates the final shot, and also to save as much money as possible. So if we head to week 50, 51, and into the final week of the year, which will take us into the next season. So we've got 3 notifications here on this front. So the proposals received have gone down to 2, and we've got 1 candidate available. So these guys are not interested anymore because we took too long. Or actually, no, we've only got 2 weeks left. We will refuse with Italtrans, we'll refuse with Mark VDS, and with SkyVR46, since obviously we've already signed with Red Bull KTM IO. And then we've got a new personal manager applying as well, A++, 77 on the negotiation there. I have got to bear in mind that the prices for these are very high, because 130,000 credits annually is a lot, considering we're only gaining 500,000 annually as it is anyway. I think it's worth it. So we're going to assign this Cooper Jones. It gave us 67 more on the one in the middle. We'll reject all these people here just to clear it out a little bit. And then I think I'm going to do the same on the technical staff. So I'm going to hire Ike Carrizo. And for the telemetrist then, the telemetrist, we actually haven't really got anybody fantastic yet. But I think the better one to go with has got to be Clara O'Connor at this point. Purely just because the stats are pretty similar. And her stats overall are better because we lose points on the engine with Anita Perez, which is not going to give us good synergy with the other guy we just signed that was fantastic on the engine. So we'll go with Clara O'Connor here. And that is all of the staff reassigned. We just got an achievement there. Not exactly sure what that was for. I think it's a recruiter, so that's probably for hiring a completely new set of staff. But now the next thing to do is to head straight into the next season. So we'll advance to the next season, and we should get the nice team showcase. Oh, of course, we actually get to pick the calendar. I completely forgot about that. So this season, I'm going to go with the full calendar. We did the official 2021 calendar for the first season. I think it makes sense in this one to do the full calendar for the second season. So here we are then into Moto2 now. That is the transition. The end of our Moto3 career and the start of our Moto2 career. So then we just got paid a decent amount of money there, up to 239,732. If we have a look at the personal manager now, we've already got a new candidate available. And actually, interestingly, they can't start for 10 weeks. I didn't even realise that was a thing. So we've got to wait 10 weeks before we can start to look for new contracts. But of course, that doesn't matter. We're not going to be changing teams already. So someone actually a bit better on the credits front there is already applied, Natalie Petite. But we've literally just signed somebody, so we're not going to sign anybody else. And same with the technical staff, the telemetrist. Yes, Jack O'Brien is probably... Actually, no, he's not better. I was about to say he's probably better, but he's only good on the aero, so we'll reject him because for Moto2, we don't need that. So I think first things first, we should have a look at our headquarters, see how much research data we've got. Probably nothing. We've got 300 to start with, so not quite enough. We can put some people on the research production. Actually, in fact, they already are, but we'll just quickly go through and check to see if everybody is assigned correctly. So yeah, everybody is assigned to their correct point. All the best engine people are on the engine, all the best frame people are on the frame, and the 2 best electronics people are on the electronics. But of course, we can always move them around to suit our needs. There's only 3 upgrades on the electronics, so probably once we've done a few of those, we'll probably start moving those engineers onto the engine and the frame. But it's actually quite high, the amount of research data you need for the electronics, I guess, because there's not many upgrades. We need 1,500 for those 2, and 2,000 for the one down here. But we'll advance forward a couple of weeks then, just to get some research data in, then we can start some upgrades. So we can now put an engine upgrade on, as I'm told here. So we've got 500, that is enough. So we'll put all the engine engineers on here then. So that's only going to take 2 weeks, so that'll be done pretty quickly. So that should be done before the first race of the season. So we'll advance forward once again. We have actually got a notification here telling me that I can set up a junior team, but I'm not going to do that till I'm already in MotoGP and financially secure, because we saw how badly that can go in MotoGP 20, because I was probably going to go bankrupt if this game didn't come out beforehand. So my engine upgrade has now finished. My frame can now be upgraded as well, because we've got enough research data for that. So we'll stick all the frame engineers on here. So that'll take 3 weeks, so again, that shouldn't be too long. And how much research data do we need for the next engine upgrade? quite a bit, so as long as they're back on the research, which they're not, I need to put them back on the research. So we've put them back on the research data for the engine, so we should start to get some more research data as we advance forward through the weeks. So we've skipped forward a few weeks now to week 7. We've got a couple of notifications here, the technical staff and the Calix headquarters. So that frame upgrade is now complete. Nothing else we can do on that front yet, so we'll put them back on the research. So all of the staff are back onto the research now. Hopefully the electronics will have enough soon. I think we need 700... Oh no, actually it's not 750, is it? 750 for one of the other fronts. It's like 1,000, isn't it, we need? So still a while yet before we can put any electronics upgrades on. But we also have a technical staff notification, Timothy Booth applying here, so much worse on the engine, really good on the aero, so will probably be okay for MotoGP, but honestly the aero literally doesn't even matter. There's usually a few upgrades and they don't make much of a difference, so never go for someone that's really good on the aero because it's not really worth your time. So another technical staff notification. Guess we're at that point of the season where we get plenty. Someone's actually pretty good on the frame there, but not very good on the engine. So for now we'll leave that because it's just going to cost us even more money and I'm not sure we'll be able to afford that. And another notification on the technical staff, so many notifications here. Another telemetrist, bad on the electronics, pretty good on the frame honestly, pretty good on the engine. I probably would be inclined to sign them, but since I already signed someone earlier on in this episode for this role, it seems like a waste of money to do that again. But unfortunately, they are pretty close. And I just accidentally advanced forward when we had an engine upgrade that we could put on. So we can put either engine upgrade on now. I think probably the maximum torque increase is the one to go for. So we'll stick all the engineers back on here. Again, only 3 of them, not too many. And that is going to take 5 weeks to do, so a fair old while. But that's another engine upgrade in the works. One more technical staff notification, and then we can finally head into the weekend. So Oliver Stevens, a really good electronics engineer, but not very good on the engine, so we'll give them the sack then. So with all that build-up out of the way now, it is time to head into the Qatar Grand Prix. I'm going to probably do a lot of laps in practice because I want to get used to the new bike, and of course, since we're upgrading a bike from scratch, I want to do all the practice programs to get as much research data as I can. So I'll see you at the end of practice. Hopefully, we've got some decent pace. So then, we're almost at the end of the session. As you can see, there's only 11 minutes to go, and I've been pretty much going around the whole time. You can see I've got 8 laps in there. I've done most of the development tests, if I quickly show you. There has been a little bit of a problem I've actually had with a couple of them, because the setup improvement and clean lap with long lap penalty, I've not ignored them. I have actually gone and done both of them, but I just didn't get given the objective for them. I'm not really sure why, because I went through the long lap, I went through it correctly. I know previously in one of the other episodes in Moto2 I was confused to why I wasn't getting that objective, but it was because I wasn't going through the long lap properly. But I did it this time. I did like a 204 or something, so it was plenty underneath, you know, the objective of a 207. I went through the long lap penalty. It said long lap served at the top of the screen. If I was recording, I'd probably put up the footage now, but I wasn't recording when I did it. In setup improvement, again, I went and beat that 203.5 because my time is fair decent amount quicker than that. Yet it didn't work. I have actually changed the setup as well. I only went through and changed one thing, so maybe that's why, but quite why the long lap penalty one didn't work. When I did the long lap, it said I served it. It was clean because it was valid, and it was under the time. Why I didn't get that, I don't know. But we're actually losing out on a decent amount of research data there through what seem to be bugs in the game. So they probably need to have a bit of a look at the practice program sometimes. But as you can see, I have just basically come out and done a glory run. Well, not a glory run. It was just to get through into qualifying 2, honestly. But I'm only in 11th. The pace is not amazing, and the tyres are interesting because you can see I'm on a medium hard, and I initially went out on a soft to try and get my way through, and they were gone. They were gone after maybe a sector and a half maybe. They were completely red, completely gone, no grip. They were worse than mediums I've been going around on for 5 laps for the rest of the lap. So I improved by a bit, but that's just the time I found in the first couple of sectors, and I hemorrhaged some of that as well. But on this medium hard, I've gone a fair amount quicker. I went up about 10 places, improved by a good 7/10 of a second. So we're only 6/10 off Sam Lowe's. And if we go off AI's past form, they are slower in qualifying than they are in practice. So if this gets us through, which it should just about, it's going to be close because the top 12 go through. Hopefully we don't lose any more positions, but we'll head to the end of practice. Hopefully we'll get through into qualifying 2. If not, we'll have to do our first ever qualifying 1 session. So then, Sam Lowe's was quick instead of Marco Bezzecchi in 2nd, and Nicolo Balega actually in 3rd place, interestingly enough. Same with Vierge in 4th, a little bit of an outlier there, but our teammates Fernandez and Gardner in 5th and 9th positions. I end up in 11th place, so that's good at the end of that session to stay 11th. Hopefully Iagora doesn't improve, same with Arbolino, Corsi. Jake Dixon, he could be a threat, honestly, to improve by a few tenths of a second and jump ahead of us. You can see Yari Montella there, the top Boscoscuro. So the Boscoscuro is really struggling in this session. At least I didn't see Navarro anyway. Yeah, Navarro's down at 30th, so something going on with the Boscoscuro seems to be struggling quite a bit here. But hopefully we get through into qualifying 2, but if not, I'll see you in qualifying 1. So I did actually get straight through into qualifying 2, which is nice, and I actually misjudged it. It's the top 14, isn't it, that go through, and then 4 come up from qualifying 1, which makes an 18 rider practice session. So we were pretty secure in that. Doesn't seem like any of the AI improved anyway, but there we go. So straight through into our first qualifying 2 session, which is good to see. But we are going to deviate from the norm here. So normally I would go on a soft, but as I explained earlier on, soft is not worth your time. At least not here at Qatar because of the heat. Moto2 probably in general, honestly, because it absolutely shreds the tyre with the lack of traction control. So yeah, medium, it's actually recommending me a medium, but medium probably would be the way to go here. That's going to be tough itself, but it's qualifying. You want the softest tyres you can use to get the most grip, but I think medium could be close knit here, but I want to save some hard tyres for the race. I think I'm going to go hard in the race, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet. So we'll head out onto the track. Of course, I'm not really comfortable yet. For some reason, the setup objective is still there. I think that's probably because you can do it in qualifying as well, for a guess. So it'll be interesting to see if I actually get it now in this session. But previously, I changed something on the setup, didn't work, so I'm not bothering with it. Same with the long lap penalty one as well. Not really sure why I didn't get that, because that's quite annoying, since you lose out on valuable research data at this point of the season. But I can't let that bother me too much. Digi Antonio then currently fastest with a 2:03.3. That's what I mean, the AI already going a bit slower than they were in practice, and that is way too hot into the first corner. Yet that's invalidated my lap, I would have thought. When I come, actually, it hasn't invalidated my lap, but it's definitely ruined it anyway. That'll cost me a lot of time. You can see the rear stepped out a lot into there. So this lap so far has been absolutely terrible, and there is nothing there, no grip in. Power 3 shreds these tyres. Honestly, they are absolutely gone. Use a bit of Power 3, but we'll see. We're 3 tenths down in the first sector, and the first sector is a sector where you have to go fastest in it, really, to have a decent chance at a lap, because it's a sector where it's easy to equal anybody. It's not a sector where you can gain too much time unless you make massive mistakes. So we're actually going red here now, a tenth underneath, so we actually found a fair decent amount of time in that sector. Mediums actually are working so far. We're now a second underneath this time. Oh, that was a big mistake on that curb though. That would have cost us so much time. That is infuriating. We will have definitely lost. We could have lost a good half a second from that curb, because it forced me wide. You see, DJ Antonio is actually behind me anyway, so he's probably on a decent lap. But that is so frustrating. We would have lost so much time on that curb. I'm probably going to have to go for another one, because there's so many mistakes on this lap. And honestly, I thought it could have been invalidated, but not quite. But up towards the line then, 2:01, so a 2:01.3. That's a pretty decent lap, honestly, but I can go better. So coming up towards the line then, I had found about a second on the lap, but I made a mistake into the final turn. You can see I'm now third in the session, but up towards the line, what's this going to be then? That takes us back to pole briefly, but Digi Antonio right behind us actually beats us over the line, and he gets into the 1:59s there. I did a 2:06. Digi's just crashed into the side of Canet. That's a little bit weird there. But honestly, I can't see myself really finding much more time than that. I don't have the tyres to throw at it either. Hang on, let me get out of Digi's way now. So the AI actually do seem a lot better in Moto2, so we are going to have some hard weekends by the looks of it. But Digi Antonio has got 7 tenths clear of me. Lowe's has just improved and there's a good half a second behind me. So we'll head back to the pits, see what the AI can do. But it seems like Digi Antonio might have just demolished the field. Or Robots has actually gone top as well, so I'm now down to 3rd place. So looking at the AI then actually here in this menu, Joe Roberts is currently quickest, about 2/10 clear of Di Giannantonio, who is a good 7/10 clear of me, and then Sam Lowes is again then like another 4 or 5/10 behind me. So really, really weird here. The gaps in this field seem massive, absolutely massive. I mean, look down here. Aaron Canet, Tony Arbolino, Bezzecchi, Dixon, Baldassarri. They're 4 seconds off the pole time. So Moto2 qualifying seems to be a little bit weird, a little bit inconsistent, which kind of gives me vibes from last year's game where the AI was super inconsistent from track to track. Like, you would probably get Roberts, well, in last year's game it was Luti and Baldassarri, but for example, we might get Roberts, Di Giannantonio be overpowered here, but then Bezzecchi might be overpowered at another one, and Roberts and Digi are back where Bezzecchi are, and you can just start finishing second and third to those riders and then gaining 20 points on them on the next race. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen in this game, but it could do, judging by this qualifying session so far. But we'll just quickly finish fast-forwarding to the end of it then. And that's how the session ended then. So Joe Roberts was still fastest, almost 2/10 clear then of Fabio Di Giannantonio in second position. We get a first row for our first race in Moto2, which is good because we've hit the qualification goal right there then. I think a podium is the goal as well for the race, so we don't want to lose any positions, but honestly I wouldn't be surprised if we do lose positions. However, I don't know how good the Moto2 AI are going to be off the start, because in last year's game they were awful. They used to, well, their launch was good, the second phase of their start was terrible, and they just go backwards, so it'll be interesting to see if that is inherited by the MotoGP 21 AI. But Sam Lowes then behind us, again by another 4-5 so the gap's so weird here. Bo Schneider was actually pretty quick as well, up the order there. Baldassarri on the MV Agusta, 13th, not bad for them, but we dominated our teammates there. Gardner and Fernandez, they should be championship rivals. Well, they should be championship contenders, but they're 3.2 and 3.3 seconds off pole, and Iagora, the rider in front, is only 1.8, so some really big, weird gaps here in qualifying, but let's get this race started now then. I'm really looking forward to see how this race pans out. What are the AI going to do? Are they going to pull to the front and then drop back with tyres? Are they just going to leave me for dust? Am I going to run out of tyres? I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really looking forward to it. So here we are then. The first session we're actually going to be doing in the night time, so that'll be interesting. I thought it was actually a twilight race, to be honest. But this year it seems to be actually more in night time. However, the hard tyre is still recommended for the rear. I'm going to go for a hard tyre on the front as well. I may come to regret that. I might have massive drop-off, absolutely no grip on the front at all, but the medium tyre went off after about a lap, so that's not really feasible for a race. I'm not sure actually how many laps there is in this race. It's probably about 5 or 6, something like that. So yeah, a tyre that drops off after 1 or 2 laps, that's just not going to cut it. So we have to go hard. We'll just see how this race pans out. I'm not putting too much expectation on this race. Obviously, we've got a front row, but I'm not expecting to maybe stay here. If we drop back a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Top 10, honestly, would be good, but top 5 would be better.
Qatar Motorcycle Grand Prix will start shortly here in Doha, with the riders ready to compete on this amazing floodlit racetrack.
So then Joe Roberts on the pole, Di Giannantonio second, myself in third position, the familiar front row position, waiting for the lights to go out here then at Qatar. Lights out, away we go. Once again, I've not had the best reaction time to the lights, and we've been left for dust. So yes, the Moto2 guys are quick off the line. They're not like they were last year. They're not sluggish. Round the outside goes Vierge. He wasn't going to pull that one off. We've got one of the Mandalicas up the inside. It must be Bo Schneider there with the Macna leathers. So we slot in behind Ben Schneider down to 6th place. We've got Baldassarri trying to go around the outside for 7th. So he's had a good start off the line. We've run a little bit wide. We've got Gardner now on the inside. We've got to watch out. We don't want to have contact with our teammate. So we're going to let him through. Well, I didn't really let him through. He swooped around the outside. But perhaps if it was another rider, I would have maybe tried to hold it on the inside a bit more. Seems like the AI taking the weird line there, which isn't ideal because I did back out before this race. So if the fix doesn't work on this occasion, there has been a crash. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe the fix isn't going to work on this occasion because I have backed out of the race and gone back into it like always, and that has been working in Moto3, but it seems like to not be working so far in Moto2. Oh, Baldassarri tries to get the inside, he loses the front, so a very foolish attempt at a pass there from Baldassarri, a bit late, last minute. And he loses the front. I'm losing so much time to the leaders. I've run wide off the track. That's allowed my other teammates through Raul Fernandez. So we're now down to 8th place. Needs to just try and get into the groove of this bike. See if we can try and start catching back up to some of the leaders. But I think we are just going to go backwards like a stone in this one. So at the end of the first lap then, we've actually got a really good slipstream on my teammate Raul Fernandez here. 2:07.9 then on that lap. But here we go to the outside of Fernandez. Oh, he comes over onto me a little bit. He moved over onto my line very last minute. That sent me to, well, the car park almost there. As we come back onto the track, a little bit of contact with Iagora. I tried to stay to the outside as much as I could. I mean, they could have given me a bit more space. I mean, I suppose I was the rider coming back on, but I really tried to stay to the outside, but we lose another position. That was down to my teammate Fernandez nerfing me out the way a little bit, though. So it's not been the best start to the race. Down from 3rd to 9th positions. Here we go, they're not the inside of Agora. Had the better line. Can we try and just get past him? A little bit more contact there. That was my fault though this time. And we try and swoop around the outside of I. Oh, he's got it for now though. So Agora, good defense there. Hopefully we could try and pass him, because I think I actually probably can catch back up to the back of Fernandez, honestly. I think I was starting to find my feet at the end of that first lap. But here comes Bezzecchi. It's just this section of the track that I cannot do, and I couldn't do it in Moto3 either. And there comes the other Sky VR46 bike, our Celestino Vietti. We are going absolutely backwards. That's to 11th place now. We're closer back up to Bezzecchi again, though, but we're going to get hung out to dry if we try and go around the outside here. We're looking back on the inside of him. Bit of contact with Bezzecchi. The bike wheelied a little bit there with the contact. So back down behind him now. We've got Vierge actually up behind us. So Vierge really went backwards off the line because he's trying to go around the outside of me into the first corner, I reckon. So he's gone sort of backwards with me. Then it's Dixon behind him. But yeah, this is going to be a tough race because we just are getting passed at every corner. There's been a crash. I'm not sure who it is. There's been, wow, a horrendous accident. That is a lot of riders down. That might have helped me out, honestly, because Vierge is pretty much the only AI in contention to pass me again now, so I'm not sure what happened. I think Jake Dixon got tagged by someone from behind, and then all the other AI just couldn't get past his bike by the looks of it, but we'll have to watch that back on the replay. What a bizarre accident. So then, I'm actually catching up to the back of Agora and the two Sky bikes again, and it seems like the pack at the front is sort of closing up. It's unfortunate, really, because we're on the penultimate lap. I think if we had a few more, I could maybe try and get onto the back of these guys, start trying to fight my way back through. But they're just so fast in this middle sector because the AI can actually turn the bike, whereas the player just can't. But Agora goes back underneath Bezzecchi then, so Bezzecchi could be in a bit of trouble. We might want to capitalise here. It's not going to be enough, unfortunately. They are just so much faster than me outside of the first two sectors of the lap. I'm quicker in the first two. They are quicker in the last couple of sectors. So I just can't get close enough to them, unfortunately. So we actually have closed up once again. We get this close every lap, but then they just pull away so much. I made a big mistake into turn 6, actually. I lost the rear a little bit on the way in. I've got to keep in front of Vierge. I just want to hang on to this 11th position now. It's just so unfortunate. I just don't have the pace through these sections where you need to turn the bike. It's just not very MotoGP 21 friendly, honestly. So coming on towards the line then, we are going to finish in 11th position. Not quite the start of the season I expected, but not a terrible one. So in the end, Sam Lowes actually won the race then ahead of Joe Robertson 2nd, Remy Gardner 3rd, Fabio Di Gianantonio ended up in 4th place, Augusto Fernandez in 5th, Raul Fernandez in 6th, Boben Schneider 7th, Celestino Vietti 8th, Bezzecchi 9th, Iagora just ahead of us in 10th place, and I ended up in 11th. So a little bit of a letdown then for my team, but honestly, this track I wasn't really expecting to do too well after the first lap because it's just not very MotoGP 21. At this circuit, in the middle of the last sector, so sector 3 and 4, you need to be able to change the direction quickly and ride the curbs, which you can do neither of in MotoGP 21, so your pace isn't going to be there. The AI can do that, annoyingly enough, for some reason. They can change the direction like they could in 20, and they can also ride the curbs pretty well. But not sure what happened with this little crash at the back. I am going to have a little look at that, I think. But overall, not a terrible race, but not fantastic. The team aren't going to be too thrilled with the race objective. Oh, there's been a big crash there. That might have been me. I'm not really sure, but someone just went flying off there in the background. So, of course, the Riders' Championship is going to look exactly the same. If we move on to the Teams' Championship then. So, Elf Mark VDS Racing Team lead, 10 points ahead of us in 2nd, Rebel KTM IO. But, of course, I actually haven't contributed to that at all because I was the 3rd rider. Ital Trans then in 3rd place, 4th for Sky VR46 and 5th for Federal Oil Grassini. So I will quickly have a look to see what happened at that crash. I think it was lap 1, was it lap 2? Happened right behind us. Involved Dixon, not really sure who else it involved, but it looked pretty weird. So yeah, it actually is a really weird one. So you can see, obviously, I'm just a little bit in front of these two here. Jake's going through this corner, gets tapped by Baldassare. Baldassare gets stuck on his rear tyre. and it just causes absolute carnage. So if we actually slow this down to have a look what happens. So mid-corner, Baldassarri closes up to the back of Jake and touches his rear tyre. Jake now just can't accelerate because his rear tyre is sliding. Look how much it's sliding. He just can't get anywhere. Baldassarri, subsequently, is also stuck behind Jake because of this, because he's also stuck on Jake and probably can't accelerate either. And the riders behind, you got Manzi here. Oh, okay, there's already been a bit of a crash because of it. In fact, actually, this is a separate incident further behind. Yeah, okay, so that's why it looks so strange. There was a separate crash further behind, so we won't analyse that just yet. So we're on board with Manzi now, and you can see just in front of us, you can see the incident occurring between Dixon and Baldassarri. And out of this corner we come. We've got Schrotter on the left-hand side, and they both just try and split these two bikes because they're coming out the corner, and all of a sudden these two bikes in front are stopping. But Dixon, in his slide and in his attempt to get away from Baldassarri, because of course he's stuck on him, just goes straight to the path of Manzi. And Manzi just cuts into him and has him off. I'm not sure whether Baldassarri got involved, or did he actually escape? Yeah, so actually Baldassarri got away with it. So those two bikes sort of part either side. Baldassarri puts his hand up because obviously he's been touched. But there we go, he's got away with that. So as you can see here, we're going to go into free camera. You can see nobody else actually gets caught up in this incident, purely because of the huge incident that's happened behind. That's took basically the rest of them out, or everybody that wasn't, too far behind out. So if we have a look, see what happens there, it's a bit of a chain reaction actually, it's quite weird. So it is directly behind this incident. You can see Cameron Beaubier trying to get on the inside of Baldassarri here. He couldn't pull it off. And basically, he just gets hit by his teammate Ramirez. So Ramirez just kind of taps his teammate up the back, which is enough to just unsettle both their front ends and have them both off, right? So, to be honest, the American racing bikes just sort of have their own little crash. What happens behind is now a consequence of that. I think one of the NTS bikes crashes trying to avoid this crash between the American racing teammates. So the American racing bikes crash, and again, actually, that is a completely separate incident, really. Arbolino gets caught up in that, as you can see there. But we're on board with Sire-In here, and Sire-In just actually hits Manzi up the back and just high sides, which gets Montella as well by the looks of it. So Sire-In high sides, you can see the crash there. Actually, Arbolino got away with that. Arbolino managed to get round the outside of the two American racing bikes. But you can see Sire-In high sides here, sends Montella's bike up in the air, takes out Tom Luthi as well. So the NTS takes out Tom Luthi, and then they skittle into the side of Arbolino, and I believe, yeah, Arbolino's then been taken out by, I think it's Montella's bike, isn't it? Yeah, so you can see poor old Arbolino, bless him, he goes around the outside of the American racing bikes, actually gets very lucky with that, somehow he doesn't crash from that, and then there's this huge accident here with Sire-In high-siding, taking out both Montella and Luthi, and he just gets clobbered by Luthi's bike, and again, he actually stays on from this, but finally, he's sent into the path of Montella's bike, and that is enough to just make him lose the front and go down. So poor old Arbolino avoided two accidents, but crashed on the third time. And Simone Corsi here then, very, very weird. He just clips Luthi's bike, does a bit of a stoppie up in the air, and then does a wheelie because of it, trying to save that. And you can see this is the carnage of the crash with Dixon and his teammate and Garzo, and he gets through. He actually got a clip there from Balaga, but luckily stayed on. So I'll head back to the career hub now after looking at all those crashes, see what we get from this weekend. I don't think the team are going to be too thrilled with the race result, but we'll probably get a decent amount of reputation for the actual qualifying result. So unfortunately, it seems in Moto2, the multiplier is not enough to save me. We actually lost a lot of reputation. We lost nearly 10,000 by getting 11th place. And that's telling me that maybe I made a mistake signing for a top team. I just thought top team, I'd be straight on the pace up at the front, but I kind of underestimated Moto2 a little bit there. And honestly, not great. Overall, we only lost 2,000. Pretty much, we lost 1,975, so not too bad. The multiplier definitely helping me there. But, ooh, that's not ideal. As for the credits, though, we actually still gained something. I didn't think we'd gain anything at all. But we got 300 credits for actually getting the objective, which is not ideal because we've got some more expensive staff. But this is where it actually matters for us at this point of the season. The research data. And that was actually also not a very good weekend because we had some bugged ones, which is really, really unfortunate. But we did gain a decent amount on the engine there. We're now up to 1,444 on the engine, 1,580 on the frame, and we've got 1,715 on the electronics. So we could probably do an upgrade on most of those now. We'll look at upgrading something else then. So we can't upgrade any more of the engine. We're still waiting 4 weeks for that upgrade, but we can now get another upgrade on the frame. So I will do that. Put all of the frame engineers on here. There we go. So that's going to take 5 weeks as well. And if we have a look at the electronics then, Honestly, I didn't feel like there was a massive amount wrong with the electronics, but the anti-wheelie, if I can improve that a little bit, that would be good, because I think it was cutting it a little bit unnecessarily at a few points during the weekend when I had a lot of lean angle and didn't necessarily need any anti-wheelie. That's going to take 15 weeks to come in, so it'll be a long time until we actually get any of that. But we have now got 9 notifications on the personal manager. It is some factory teams becoming interested, so despite having not the best weekend and actually losing reputation, there are more teams now interested. Tech 3 KTM, they are now interested. Pramac Racing and LCR Honda Idemitsu. So both the LCR Honda teams now interested. It's quite strange that I've lost reputation and now they're all of a sudden interested. That doesn't seem to make much sense as far as I'm concerned, but there you go. And I guess it's the same with all of these now. So actually we can go with most, or actually, I was going to say most. We can go for probably about half of the fake teams now, but I probably won't bother with that. At least not to start with. I'll probably go to a normal team to begin with. But that pretty much brings this episode to a close, and so I hope you guys have enjoyed that one. Not the best start to the season for me, in 11th place, but you know what, it's a long season, actually slightly more races in this one. There's 20 races in this season, so we've got more races to pull it back. It's only Qatar as well, so it's not a massive problem, because even in Moto2 we weren't super strong there. I did win both races, of course, but I only just won them ahead of Darren Binder by like a couple tenths of a second. And as you saw for the rest of the season, I had a good margin over the AI in both qualifying, practice, and the race most of the time as well. Like I could easily, pull a few seconds. So Qatar's always going to be a bit scrappy. First time I've literally ever ridden a Moto2 bike on this game, so it wasn't ever going to be, an amazing weekend to start with. But we got on the front row. That was quite good in itself. But the AI just were passing me so much in the middle and last sectors. Nothing I could do. And honestly, Raul Fernandez didn't help me out by hitting me off. I think if I hadn't been hit off by him, I could have probably just stuck on the back of him for the rest of the race. Still wouldn't have been an amazing result, but I think some of those leaders dropped back, so they might have come back to me a bit, and I might have been able to pass them, because I was pretty much lapping the same as the two Skybikes and the Idemitsu in front. Obviously Agora that was, wasn't it? I was pretty much lapping on their pace. It was just they would pull it at the last sector, so then I couldn't pass coming into my good sector, because I'd have my two good sectors just close up the gap they pulled in the last sector, and they'd just pull the same gap back again. So we were doing the same times, but it was a little bit unfortunate that I couldn't quite get close enough to make a pass. If I'd potentially been a little bit better in the third and fourth sectors, I probably could have pulled a pass into turn 6, because I was getting close enough a couple of laps to maybe think about it, but it just wasn't to be. But like I said, I hope you did enjoy that one. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.